Hey everybody, it's Sensei Sid from Fields Karate. Today I want to talk about two slightly different but very similar and interrelated concepts, that of flexibility versus mobility. Now when people first start training karate, they often start because they want to build flexibility. And flexibility is this ability for your muscles to stretch lengthwise to extremes. And you see this come into play when people do super high kicks and drop into real deep splits and things like that. And that's all good and well. There's nothing wrong with being able to do that. But in defensive karate, the kind that we practice, being able to go to those extremes isn't so important. But what is important is mobility. The ability to use a full range of motion at each of your joints. And whereas flexibility focuses on being able to stretch the muscles, mobility focuses on being able to relax the muscles. In fact, if you come into one of our classes, one of the things you may hear me talk about or tell our students is that as we're stretching, to relax into your stretch. If you relax your muscles, you can always stretch further. And the truth is, most people who think they have a flexibility problem don't really have a flexibility problem, they have a mobility problem. They are not able to get their tightened muscles to relax. It's not that they can't stretch, but that they won't stretch or they won't relax so that they can stretch. So that's one of the things that, especially for defensive karate, you want to start working on is learning how to relax. See, one of the concepts in karate is knowing when to be very tense and hard and when to relax. And one of the best ways to throw a strike or a block, to make it fast enough, is to relax through most of the technique until the last moment, which is when you tense up. And that relaxation, that ability to relax it, is kind of what we're talking about here. Now, one of the best ways, especially with your legs, that's where most people complain about not being flexible. One of the ways that you can work on mobility, not so much flexibility, but mobility, is actually to practice a very, very deep squat. Now I'm backing up a little bit so that you can see how I do this pretty well. But you want to spread your feet out a little bit wider than your shoulders, and you want to just squat down, keeping your feet flat on the floor, okay, keeping your heels down, and you want to squat down and rest. Just drop your elbows inside your knees, okay, not touching anything, but just squatting here. Okay? Once you get used to this, this is actually a pretty comfortable way to stand without kneeling down on your knees, and you can even work right here in a workspace if you needed to. But you want to be able to get down this low. Now, some of you may be looking at this going, since they said, I can't get down like that. Well, sometimes you have to work your way into something. And the way you do that is to start by bending over a little bit, putting your hands on your knees, bending them a little bit, and just resting. And then when you get comfortable doing that, most people can do this much. But once you get there, I want you to lower your backside, okay? Until you get low enough where you're really pushing with your hands, and then shift to your elbows. And now you're leaned over a little bit more, keep your balance, and just rest here for a minute. And then slowly try to relax your way down until you don't need your elbows anymore. Now, once you're down here and you get kind of comfortable with where it is, I want you to put your hands together, either palm to palm or fist into your palm. And I want you to put your elbows inside of your knees, and I want you to push out and straighten your back. Okay? Because while this isn't a great posture for your back, it does let you get down, and I want you to press your elbows out and get that good posture. And just hold it for a minute. And what this does is it opens up the hips and applies a little bit of pressure for that mobility on the inside of your hips. And you want to learn to let it relax. And then let loose. You want to do this a couple of times. Now this is going to build both flexibility and mobility. Now, if you're pretty comfortable doing this, or you get pretty comfortable doing this, the next thing you can do is try to start walking in this position. Come up on your toes, take a step, flat foot, and then shift. And you can do this forwards, you can do this backwards, but try to get to a point where you can walk a little ways just by doing this. And learning how to rest into this position is going to help with mobility. Now, you might be going, Sensei, where in the world is that going to help me with karate? Well, take a look very carefully of where my knees are compared to my chest. And pretty close. Well, in several of our kicks, most notably our side thrust kick, where does my knee come up to be able to chamber for that kick? Into my chest. So, doing this is going to help you do this much more effectively. And this you need to do this. Okay? So things interrelate. This is going to help you. Now, something to be mindful of, if you have a knee injury, that's a little different. Be careful going down. Okay? So we're focusing on the muscles and general joint motion. But if you have an injury, let the injury heal. And what tends to happen with a lot of injuries is the muscles and the tendons and the joint all stove up. They get really tight as they heal. And that's where flexibility training comes in. Remember, this is more about mobility than flexibility. So if you have an injury, you might need to do some flexibility training, and that's going to be a little different. But you might need to do that first before you get all the way down into that squat. But if you don't have an injury, work toward the squat. And that squat will help with your side thrust kick. It's amazing how these things interconnect. So take this home, try it out. If you get a chance to snap a picture or drop a video, please put that in the comments section. I'd love to see how you're doing with this mobility training. Have a good time, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.